Namaskaram. Let us cover the last part of Balabhadra's pilgrimage. There isn't much what we get out of these pilgrimage stories, but at least the famous events in the epics. For example, one which we haven't covered is the birth of Subramanya, who is also called Skanda, and by so many names he is Kartikeya, for example. So we'll briefly mention that Lord Subramanya was born on the river Saraswati. He was the son of Lord Shiva. This Tarakasura, the demon by name Taraka, had got a boon from Brahma that he should be killed only by a son born to Lord Shiva. It was a clever boon he got, because gods do not give immortality on principle. So they insist that it should be some conditional immortality. That is, unless something happens, he shouldn't be killed. There are so many instances like that in Mahabharata itself we have covered. And what Narakasura said was, if he couldn't be given immortality, he can be killed only by a son born to Lord Shiva, because Lord Shiva was known to be a celibate, a chronic bachelor who would never have, he never even looked at the women folk. So after getting the boon, Taraka went on a rampage against the Devas. He would attack the gods and kill many and do damage in the heaven. And then he would go and live somewhere else. The god could do nothing. And then they thought somehow Lord Shiva must be persuaded to marry. And then it was then that Sati Devi, who was Lord Shiva's wife, the Ksha's daughter Sati Devi, was in love with Shiva, and he was married to Lord Shiva by the advice of Brahma. The Ksha was not very happy because Lord Shiva didn't have the appearance of a prospective son-in-law for the Ksha Prajapati, who was like an emperor. And then Sati Devi committed suicide in the Yagashala of the Ksha. And Sati was born again as Parvati, daughter of the Himalaya mountain. And right from birth, Parvati remembered her earlier birth and her love for Lord Shiva. And she was on meditation on Lord Shiva. But Lord Shiva never appeared. And it was then that by the encouragement of the gods, the Kamadeva, the Lord of Love, Kamadeva played trick. When Parvati was going on her daily puja to Shiva, Kamadeva came and he got the spring season to work on Shiva's mood. It was not actually spring, but the spring was manipulated, and everywhere there were flowers and beautiful smell, and the Apsara maiden came and sang, and they were dancing. And Shiva, though he was in deep meditation, he started feeling a soft corner for in the sense he was having the mood of love in him. And it was at that moment Parvati came. And it is said Kamadeva, Madana, he is also called, sent his secret weapons, five arrows he has. And what is it? So, Mandara, Parijataka, Sandana, Kalpavrikshascha. There were 5 flowers which were the arrows of Kamadeva. If they hit someone, he is sure to fall in love with a woman. And he sent his arrows, and it had its effect. And Shiva opened his eyes and saw Parvati right in front. And then a soft feeling developed in him. And then suddenly he recovered, and he thought why his determination waned, why he felt this way to Parvati. Then he realized and saw Kamadeva right in front, trying to escape from his sight. And in that anger, his third eye opened, and a flash of fire flew from it and burned Kamadeva down. And Shiva, with his entourage, disappeared. Nobody knew where. And then Parvati started again meditation. After long years, Shiva was pleased with her and married her. The story of Kumara Sambhava by poet Kalidasa is about this. And then finally, Parvati married Shiva, and a son was born to Lord Shiva. The divine births are not in a womb. The father is supposed to be one of the gods, but none of the Devis, goddesses, they bear children. So Skanda was born from Shiva as the father in the waters of Saraswati. It is said that he was first, Shiva's sperm first fell into the fire, but the fire couldn't handle it, so it was thrown into Saraswati river. And hence Skanda also have the name Agnibhu, born of fire, Agnibhu. And anyway, he was born in the Saraswati rivers, and because there was, Parvati was not his actual mother, and Parvati was not in the scene. So the child was helpless without a mother, it was crying for milk. And it is said that 6 Kritika maiden looked after the baby. And actually Kritika is a star, is a cluster of stars, it's a cluster of 6 stars. and they looked after the baby. And because there were 6 mothers, it is said this Subramanya, he developed 6 faces for the breast milk. That is why he is Shanmukha, the one with 6 heads, 6 faces. And because the Skanda was born along Saraswati river, the Tirtha, the pilgrimage center, was known as Taijasa, because of the Tejas, because of the glow of Skanda. And it is said that in the Tejasa Tirtha, Lord Varuna was anointed as the god of waters, all waters, rivers, lakes, seas. Varuna was made the god of all those. And Skanda was made, the anointment was made at the Taijasa Tirtha by collecting waters from all the seas. And he was anointed, that is, Abhisheka was done, and he was made the commander-in-chief of the army of the gods. And then he went and fought against Tarakasura. He was given different weapons by different gods. There was a Trishula, a 3-pronged, what is it called? Javelin sort of thing, but with a short handle. So it's not something thrown away, but it's held and with that pierced. And Subramanya used that and pierced Tarakasura and killed him. And the Taijasa Tirtha became holy because of all this. And after this, the main events of Balarama's pilgrimage was over. And Balarama had reached river Kalindi, where he met sage Narada, and they exchanged greetings. And Balarama asked, what is the news of the war? And then Narada narrated everything that happened until then, including the complete destruction of the Kauravas. Only Duryodhana was hiding somewhere. So Balarama dropped further pilgrimage and came back to the Kaurava's place, where the war had been fought. And then it was the time when Yudhishthira had gone and found where Duryodhana was hiding through the hint of some of the hunters. He went there, provoked Duryodhana into a duel, and he came out saying that he was not hiding, he was only cooling his limbs. He came out, he was ready for a duel with anybody from the Pandavas. And then Bhima came forward, he said he would fight. And they started fighting with their maces. And in this context, Mahabharata says that it was Balarama who taught the mace fight to both Duryodhana and Bhima. And Duryodhana was Balarama's favorite disciple. Bhima had learned everything, but Balarama had the better skill. Bhima had better power, force, but Duryodhana was clever with the mace. And they started fighting, fierce fight, the usual, usual steps in the mace fight was followed, hitting and evading, and hitting and receiving blows, and blood flowing. Both were hurt and blood was flowing, but no one was the winner. At that time, Krishna narrated to Arjuna, who was sitting nearby, saying that, look, Bhima is never going to win in direct fight, fair fight against Duryodhana. He is better. The only way is to cheat him, is to use tricks which are not allowed in this Gada Yuddha. And that is to hit below the belt. That is something a taboo. And Arjuna then tapped on his left thigh, indicating to Bhima that that is the place to go. And Bhima got that hint, and he was waiting for an opportunity. Once he swung his mace with force, and Duryodhana, to avoid, jumped up, high up. And as he was coming down, Bhima again swinged his mace and hit Duryodhana on the thigh with all force. And Bhima, of course, is very mighty. That blow broke the thigh bones of Duryodhana, and he fell down mortally wounded. And with that, the last fight in Mahabharata was over. Balarama was very wild with Bhima for for using a step, using a trick that was forbidden in the mace fight. He got up and he was going towards Bhima, but Krishna pulled him back and consoled him, saying so many justifications. One thing he said was that Duryodhana had received a curse from sage Maitreya much before the war, when Krishna's peace talks with the Kauravas was going on. Maitreya went to Duryodhana and advised him that he should stop all enmities to the Pandavas, and there should be no war, accept the peace offered by the Pandavas, and stay in amity. But Duryodhana didn't heed at all. As the sage was talking, Duryodhana simply was, hitting, drumming on his thighs. And that angered Maitreya in two ways. First of all, Duryodhana was not paying attention to him. He was enjoying himself. And then his words were not listened to. So Maitreya cursed him that in the war, Bhima will thrash your thighs and kill you that way. So saying all this and saying all the cheatings the Duryodhana and others did against the Pandavas, Krishna consoled Balabhadra. And with that, the Gada Yuddha is over. And you can say the Mahabharata war, though 18 days war was over, there is little bit left, which is again a very important event in the Mahabharata war, which we shall take up next day. Namaskaram.